Hello folks, let me ask you a question. Have you guys ever seen the original Spider-Man by Sam Raimi? I know that's a weird question, but there's this quote from the Green Goblin that I can't help but relate to Stars Align, and I believe it goes something like, "Misery, misery, misery, that's what you've chosen." How funny would it have been if instead of that I just said, "The itsy bitsy spider"? I really like Green Goblin. But ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to talk about Spider-Man, you want to talk about Stars Align. Well, that's good because so do I. And today we're going to be talking about Stars Align Episode 9. But before we do, I want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared the last week's Stars Align video over on Twitter. At Nacho Gashardo, at Little Witch Boy, at Kisachan94, at Morgan Boyer Poet, and at Sakochi Anime. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, you guys, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Stars Align video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's Stars Align video. Okay, so I'm gonna approach this topic really gingerly, because here's the thing, right? I've said this in previous videos, and people have gotten mighty upset with me, but I feel like you guys watch these videos, at least I certainly hope you do, for my opinion. And here's my opinion. It's too fucking much. Is the drama great? Absolutely. There is no show right now doing drama, like character drama, like real, raw, genuine, domestic drama the way Stars Align is doing it. It is raw, it is real, and it is brilliantly done. From the seiyus, to the direction, to the writing, it is flawless. The issue is the same issue that I've been saying, please don't do this, since, like, I don't know, the start. And that is, while yes, the individual character dramas are great, when you lump it all together, it seems a little bit far-fetched. And I know some people are gonna say, like, yeah, but in Japan, listen, I did not grow up in Japan. The voice you are hearing is a dude in his 20s who grew up in Canada. I did not grow up in Japan. I cannot speak for growing up in Japan. I would assume, again, the reason you watch these videos is to hear my opinion, and as much as I would love to live in Japan one day, seriously, that is like an end goal of mine, I can't speak to the Japanese teenage experience. I didn't grow up as a Japanese teenager. It would have been cool, but apparently, according to Stars Align, it definitely wouldn't have been. It's also kind of flawed logic to assume that every parent sucks. And I'm worried that that's, like, I even joked about this on Twitter, that Stars Align just seems to think that all parents are evil with, like, the exception of Maki's mom. That's the only one I've seen so far that is a biological parent. Rintaro's parents are great, but, like, they're the only ones. It's Rintaro's parents, Maki's mom. That's it. She's the only biological parent who has not sucked ass. And again, the individual dramas are great. Tsubasa's drama is Tsubasa's drama of the, like, I fell down the stairs, I have been Shingo in that situation. I have been Shingo. I know that that happens. And the way Tsubasa reacted, the I fell down the stairs, which devolved into my dad hates me, which devolved into crying because he just wanted to play the friggin' tennis game, I know that that happens, and it's so good, you guys. The drama, like the writing, the acting, everything about the Tsubasa scene, everything about the Now scene, like that whole, like both elements were great. Even Shingo's relationship with apparently his stepmom, because I thought that was his real mom, but it turns out it's his stepmom. It's real, it's raw, it's real. They capture that perfectly. My only issue, and it's the issue that, listen, this is a problem that even people outside of this new fandom have been noticing. It's kind of ridiculous that every character has the exact same problem. Well, I shouldn't say exact. It's just that every single character has shitty parents. And when I say shitty, I don't mean like, oh, they like miss their games. I mean like they're abusive parents. Every single one of them. And listen, no, the odds of the entire tennis team. You watching, I know you want to defend it, and believe me, I do too. But you have to know that the fucking odds of that happening is outrageous. And I'm torn, because it's such a nitpick to be like, every parent in the show sucks. It's like, yeah, well, that's the point. That's the point of the show, is to talk about like how parenting can go wrong, how it affects these kids. Like the whole point of the show, the crux of the show is it's not tennis, like some people might tell you. It is not tennis. It is about the psychological damage bad parenting can have on kids. So in order to tell that story, you have to have the characters have bad parents. Unfortunately, it's just the way of it. However, it is also, on the other hand, in fiction, a little bit jarring to have every single character have shitty parents. Like, you can't. It's this, like, these two things are opposed. And my brain is doing loops because I love this show, and that hasn't changed. I still love the show, and I'm sure people have already downvoted and left. But I love this show. That's not gonna change. It's just like, it seems silly to me that every single, like, the odds are just ridiculous. And I know that I've been harping on it for several minutes now, but it's the strongest emotion that I walked away from the episode with. Clearly, they're trying to say something. The team behind this anime original, keep in mind, anime original. So the whole team got together, they had a message they really wanted to say. So I respect that. And I have to deal with that because, like, that's this me complaining thing, it's not like a genuine criticism. I can see people trying to call it a criticism. I don't really think it's a criticism. I think it's a nitpick because, again, to tell the story that they want to tell, it kind of had to be this way. It sucks that it had to be that way because it feels forced, even though you know it's not forced because every single story, every single character from now to Tsubasa to Shingo to Maki, like all of them, they all have these like dramatic relationships with their parents that further the general narrative of the show. It just sucks. It just sucks that I can't I just wish I could turn it off. Like, I just wish that I didn't have to nitpick. And I used to be the nitpick guy. And if you've been with the channel for, I want to say, a couple years, you'll know that I can't turn it off. I don't know why. I nitpick way too much. And I just want to enjoy the show. But it's such a glaring, like, it's in my face. Like, every single character has shitty parents. Actually, brain fart, I forgot about Shingo's dad. Shingo's dad's pretty great too. And I appreciate that Shingo's dad's great. I appreciate that Tsubasa's mom seems to be good. We don't really get a great glimpse at her. But yeah, like, the characters are good. Everything's sound. And that's, like, believe me when I say the characters are great. Everything is sound. It's just the fact that, like, it's all of them at once. And I wonder if it's too much. I'm not accusing the show, and really, like, if somebody's gonna say this in the comments, please timestamp this. I am not accusing the show of using this as shock value, like for shock value. I am not saying that. I am saying that they had to do this for the sake of the narrative, right? For the sake of the overall theme of the show. But writing-wise, is not, it just seems flawed to me. It just raises too many questions. If I can quote Batman. Quoted Spider-Man at the start, now I'm quoting Batman. But it just raises too many questions. You know what, I shouldn't say narrative, because the narrative, it seems almost implausible. The odds are so crazy that every single kid has some kind of issue with a parent. In this one tennis group, this one club has, like, they all have some kind of issue with at least one of their parents. And the odds of that being astronomical, I get. But here's the thing. The show itself is so well handled. All of these little vignettes, and that's what makes it frustrating, is all these vignettes are so well written. It's brutally honest and sad. Especially the Tsubasa stuff, because you think, like, when Tsubasa's talking with his brothers, you genuinely believe for like a second that everything's fine. You genuinely think that everything's gonna be just gravy. That Tsubasa's family's great, everything's fine, and then the dad walks in and everybody shuts up. And they have the tussle on the stairs. And it's so real that it hurts to watch. And it's the same feeling of, like, this real twisted sense that the parents think that they're doing the right thing. And they talk about that in this week's episode. The quartet, the Stars Align quartet, they're all hanging out and they're talking, and they mention that now probably has become a pathological liar, believing his own lies, because that's the reality that his mom is forcing on him, and she's doing it because she thinks it's what's best for him. But we know that the bitch is crazy. Well, okay, she's not crazy. She thinks that she's doing the right thing. She is a bitch, though. But she thinks she's doing the right thing. And it's so wrong. Because even Tsubasa's dad, right? Tsubasa's right. His dad's an asshole. He thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's just being a gigantic asshole. So it's this situation where these parents think they're doing the right thing, but it's so wrong and really hurting their kids mentally, emotionally, physically, harming their own kids out of this sense that they know what's best. And the parents who do seem to get, the parents who seem to be good are the parents who seem to get their kid. The parents who seem to put in the work, who understand their kid, who can relate to their kid, Shingo's dad, Maki's mom. They seem as though they actually remember what it's like to be a kid. They understand what or I shouldn't say kid, they're teenagers. They understand what it's like to be teenagers. They remember that time, and they're trying their best to both guide and mentor as well as relate and understand to their kid. They're good parents. The rest suck. I don't know if anybody's even still watching this video, if I'm totally honest, because the last time I mentioned anything remotely like this, people bombarded me with comments that I was an idiot and that I was over-exaggerating and that not every character in the show is going to have bad parents, and even if they were, it doesn't matter. And you know what? You're probably right. You're probably right. Like, it probably doesn't matter. Again, I wish I wouldn't do this. Like, I don't like that I do this either. I don't like nitpicking, and I'm trying really hard to stop. But I can't turn it off. And every time I see like another character has parent problems, first, like even though it's great to see this beautifully written, horribly heartbreaking scene between like new member of the tennis club and their parents, I can't turn off the fact that at the beginning of like as soon as they introduce a new set of parents, my first thought is what's wrong with them? What's gonna go wrong? Because this show refuses happiness. This show refuses joy and refuses good parenting. So what's wrong with them? And as soon as I notice something's wrong with them, I'm like, I friggin' knew it. And I'm salty for like the first 10 to 30 seconds of the scene. I am just sitting there going, I knew that they would do this. I said they were gonna do this. And here we are, they're doing it. And then eventually the writing wins out. The seiyus win out. The whole show wins. And I'm just like, okay, it's annoying, but at the same time, it gave me this beautifully heartbreaking scene, so I guess I can't really complain. And that's just it, I can't complain. This entire episode is one big complaint, but I get that. And like my only solution would be that you can't have that many characters have that much drama. Like maybe have limited the amount of characters with family issues, but then you lose out on characters like Now, you lose out on characters like Tsubasa and Maki and Toma, and then what's the point? Because if you take that away, then you don't really have a show. I think Tayo's the only one whose parents we haven't seen, or at the very least have been like not noteworthy. I think that's it. Like the only adults who seem to be kind are like a handful of the parents, Taki Sensei, and the teacher who Taki Sensei is like totally into, but we're not even gonna go there, even though I do ship that like FedEx. It's just, I don't know. I almost want to re-record this video because I don't want to seem like I'm trying to take away anything from the show or even somebody's life experience, because I can't speak to other people's life experience. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to talk about this show. I'm not trying to say that this doesn't happen, because it absolutely does. And if you've seen any of the Stars Align videos that I've made, you know that I've personally been the Shingo to a lot of people's Tsubasa. I unfortunately know that this does happen, and it's heartbreaking, and I hate it. I hate that that happens. And I appreciate that the show is shedding a light on this. You know, it's important. And I think the show has been so good about shining a light on these horrible parenting traps, I guess you could say, like these pitfalls that some parents fall into. It's been really good about shedding light on LGBT stuff, really just good about just having a real, genuine, grounded sports anime, and I really appreciate that. And I'm not trying to be mad at the show. I really love this show. And I'm not trying to be mad, it's just, is it going too far? Am I insane? Like, I feel like this is too much, but maybe I'm just crazy. And I don't know. I still love the show. And again, like, it can't be going too far if I still end up liking what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. And I'm not a good enough AniTuber to really formulate my thoughts into some sort of satisfying narrative, and I just can't. I don't even know what this video is gonna end up being. I don't know. I didn't even get to talk about Now and Tayo. Didn't even talk about them. Just didn't even get to talk about it. I'm worried about Now. I'm really worried about Now. Because the whole pathological liar thing, like, I thought he was gonna hurt Anne. I really thought the show was gonna go there. I would have honestly been kind of pissed if the show had Now hurt Anne. I'm glad he didn't. That scene was dark enough as it was, because you know that scene meant that Now's mental state is really unhinged, and he is really not okay. And I really think it's time for an adult to step in. I appreciate that Maki is there. Like, that's the one takeaway that I can have, is that Maki is such a calming influence on the tennis club. And tennis itself seems to be like, soft tennis really is their meditation, you know, like, it helps them relax, it helps them be calm. And it's why it's so heartbreaking to see Tsubas's arm shatter, like his wrist is, I don't remember what they said, like he sprained his wrist or something. Like, either way, it looked gnarly. And the fact that Now feels like he doesn't even belong there anymore, even though it's what makes him happy. It's so good. Like, the writing, I don't know. Like, it's so good and heartbreaking, but at the same time, it goes too far in certain places, and yet at the same time, I like it anyway. I don't know. I guess I'm just one big idiot, and that's the takeaway from this video. I can't even segue into this being salvageable. I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this. If you guys are upset, I recognize that. If you want to leave a thumbs down, I totally understand. Absolutely respectable. If you guys want to be mad, you can be mad. I totally understand. I just ask that you maybe not call me names. That's all I ask for. With that said, everybody, I would happily put this episode into the A tier. I do think it had the potential to be an S tier, but I do feel like it goes too far in certain places, and an A tier just feels more appropriate. But that's just me. Maybe everybody else thought it was S tier, and you know what? Totally respect that. And on that note, everybody, that's going to wrap up today's video. But before we take off, I want to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, Ginkotaku, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Omder Garamond, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Tristan, Verdon, and Westbourne Eastbred. A huge thank you to those of you who support the channel over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. Thanks once again for checking out today's video, everybody. If you enjoyed it, then you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't gonna tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated. And if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.